Hey everyone, Dr. Josh Hand here for the Human Powered Life podcast. I want to get a little heady with you today. This is going to be a short episode, but it's designed to make you think. So if you're in the car, commuting to work, or you're on a run, this is not going to be maybe for the full run or the full drive in, but I would urge you to think about the episode once it's done in silence. Just food for thought for your mind and for your brain. I said those things intentionally. So I'm going to read two things for you. The name of the episode mentions two things that it mentions: universal intelligence and innate intelligence. And those are two very different things. So I'm going to give you a couple definitions. For those of you that are actually watching this live or the replay or on the website, this is from a book called One Cause, One Cure, Health and Life Philosophy of Chiropractic by Fred Barge, right? So here's the cover just to give you a little visual. And in here, one of the quotes I'm pulling is from chapter 6 called Innate. And the first quote is actually from another book, but it says, from Stevenson's chiropractic textbook. This is called Chiropractic's Major Premise. So this is the one on universal intelligence. So pay attention and digest this because this is a little heady. Universal intelligence is in all matter and continually gives to all its properties and actions, thus maintaining it in existence. I'll say that one more time. Universal intelligence is in all matter and continually gives to all its properties and actions, thus maintaining it in existence. All right, so that's universal intelligence. We're going to dive into these for a couple of minutes after, because this is, a lifelong study for some people. Now we're going to go over innate intelligence, and this is by B.J. Palmer, the developer of chiropractic. It says, innate intelligence consists in the intellectuality which expresses itself through any organized physical medium. One more time. Innate intelligence consists in the intellectuality which expresses itself through any organized physical medium. So, universal intelligence versus innate intelligence. What are the differences and why did that matter? Why do these definitions, why do these words matter to us as human beings? And how can we interact with them on a daily basis? So the universal intelligence, you can think of these as outside the body forces, right? So we're a living being. We have what's called innate intelligence inside us, right? It's that organizing matter. Universal intelligence is the outside forces. So you can think of a thing like a rock, right? It's not necessarily a living thing versus a tree, which is a living thing, or a human being, which is a living thing. The innate intelligence in a tree, in a human being, has its purpose to organize each of us, right? Like the tree or the human being, and allows us to be. Right? Be that being, be that thing that is living and producing what it needs to produce out of its life. So I want you to think of this, and this is how we can describe innate intelligence a little bit better, a little bit easier. We cut our finger open versus cutting the finger open of a corpse, which doesn't have that innate intelligence in it. What will happen to our finger in a very short period of time? It will heal. What will happen to the corpse's finger? Right? It's obviously not going to heal, even though it may have all of the parts, it may have all of the fluids, it may have all of the things that we have inside, but it doesn't have that intelligence, which is making everything function and be organized in a very particular way. When you think about life as a human being, we go from 2 cells to trillions, I don't know the real number, let's just say 10 trillion cells in about 9 months, and we're a living, breathing human being. And in that process, you go from 2 cells, which are completely different. So you have 1 cell and 1 cell, and then we add those together, we become 1 again. That's the only time in math where 1 plus 1 equals 1. But then what happens there? We start to divide. Those cells keep dividing, and they're all the same. But what happens is this intelligence, this innate intelligence, forms a notochord, a central nervous system. And in that central nervous system, what starts to happen now, we start to develop these different systems off of that, right? Like a digestive system, a cardiovascular system, reproductive system, right? All of the different systems of the body are being produced. And ultimately, before we're born, we have, we're a human being, right? We're this fully put together, completely organized human being, you notice that most human beings don't have an eye on the side of their head, don't have a nose on their cheek, right? Don't have an arm coming out of their leg, right? We're all about the same because we're human beings, right? We're organized this way in a very specific way. So innate intelligence is a pretty darn amazing thing. So is universal intelligence. But I want you to think about this. Now let's just step back so we can step back into the picture. I know it was a little heady to start, but I will let you know this. I look at these two things on a daily basis. I interact with them on a daily basis, and I do it in a couple different ways. And I'll give you a couple examples. First, I know this has probably happened to almost all of you that are listening or watching. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night and had like this thought flash, like, whoa, I have this really good idea? Or I thought of something that I may have thought of about days ago, but I couldn't remember. Now these thoughts start to flood in. And we wake up and we're like, why am I waking up? All of these thoughts are flying through my head. These, I believe, are messages from innate intelligence. These are messages that are letting us know to pay attention to them, right? It's like almost talking to spirit or something like that. Whatever airy-fairy thing you may want to think of, and that's okay in my book for sure. But I'll write these things down. I have a little notepad next to my bed. Not my journal that I write in every day, but I have this little notebook. Do I use it very frequently? No. But if that happens, if I do wake up thinking of something, I'll just grab the pen next to the bed and scribble something. Whatever that is that's coming out of my mind. So, and oftentimes it's something that's relevant, it's something that's important, it's something, maybe an idea to do something in the practice, to do something in life, to anything, right? Like, so it can be so many different things that show up. And I often do my best to take action steps on what I've thought about that night. Does it happen very frequently? Like I said, no, but it does happen, right? So we've all had those innate thought flashes. And also, when it comes to universal intelligence, my perfect example is think of this, and I've said this on many different episodes. We oftentimes think things happen to us where I believe they happen for us. Sometimes that's a pretty hard thing to swallow, right? Because there are bad things and there are good things. Or that's just a perception of what we think is good and bad. So for me, one of my most recent experiences of, I think, me thinking the universe is letting me know to do something happened on November 5th, but it actually happened, I believe, in October, or end of September, October, during a 150-mile ultramarathon attempt. I ended up straining my knee, my IT band on my right knee, and I had to tap out at about mile 63, if I remember correctly. And very frustrating when you're set to do 150 and you only get to 63. Yeah, it sucks. I know people are looking, thinking and watching and listening going, 63 miles? That's nuts. That's more than 2 marathons. Yes, I know. But when you set out a bigger goal and bigger journey to be on, it can be frustrating. But these are also lessons to learn. So I injure my knee. I recover fairly quickly. All right. I don't go running, the hard the next day, but I do trot around, and I don't miss a day of running. I keep going. I was on what they called a running streak. So let's fast forward now to November 5th, the day before the New York City Marathon. In New York, it's a beautiful day. It's about 70 degrees, and I figured, what the heck, I'm going to go for a trail run. I haven't really been running outside because the weather's been kind of on and off and iffy, but it's this warm, unusually warm day. I'm going to go for a trail run, one of my favorite trails by my house. I get up about a third of a mile in. I step off a rock. Well, a third of a mile is straight uphill, right? And I get to the top of the hill. I take a step off this one rock, and the inside of my right foot lands on a very jagged, pointy rock, which then makes my ankle roll outwards. The outside bump, called the lateral malleolus, touches the ground. So you can go ahead and feel that part of your ankle now. That was folded down and touching the ground. Right? My foot was almost at 90 degrees. I thought I totally broke everything. George Carlin would have been very happy. I was dropping F-bombs. I was cursing. I was really the only one there. I was pissed off. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, looking around, it's beautiful. Grab my phone out, take a picture of where I am, just so I can have a positive memory of how beautiful it was. Then I have to hobble down the mountain, call my wife, and I was probably very short with her. And she's like, "Do you want me to come and get you?" I said, "Yeah. How are you going to do that? You're going to drive your car, climb up the mountain, carry me down the mountain, drive 2 cars home at the same time?" No, so she kind of knew that I was in an uncomfortable place. And I'm glad she didn't take it personally, obviously apologizing for me being a jerk. But that was the pain talking, not me. So I get down, get the x-rays, blah, 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 blah. This is a long story, which many of you know who followed me around. I had a grade 4 sprain in my ankle, which is pretty nasty, tears and the whole 9 yards. I ended up getting an MRI down the road. So the message was my ankle getting injured. Okay. That was the universe, in my opinion. That was me paying attention to the universe saying, right knee, a month later, right ankle, and I didn't want to give up. What did I recognize, and what was the message, the hidden message in the injury, besides being pissed off and frustrated and angry? It was this. The one, that I didn't give myself enough time to heal, was step one. Step two was I didn't do enough things to prevent the future injury, which was my ankle. So I just kind of ran it off, so they say, but I actually literally ran it off, the knee problem. I didn't do enough massages. I didn't do enough foam rolling. I did not do enough Theragun or massage gun. I did not do enough cold immersion. I did not do enough of the things that I would tell other people to do. I'm human. What can I say to myself? That's not an excuse. That was just me being stupid with the situation, and I own it. And I own me being, ignorant to that situation. So now, fast forward, we're, months out beyond November. This is, I'm recording this right now on the last day of February in 2023. I can run. Does the ankle still bother me? Yes. I didn't run for months and months and months. So I took time off. I was doing cold immersion therapy in an art bathtub, which gets down between 49 and 53 degrees. I've stretched. I've used our massage gun. I've used heat from time to time. I've stretched. I've done all of the things I'm supposed to do. Unfortunately, I was on, which stunk, which was like the holy cow wake-up call, was crutches in my practice. And, adjusting patients, having to walk around the practice with crutches. It created great stories, right? Conversations. But then a cane and then nothing. So ultimately, what I recognize now that I look back on it, it's easy to see things, right? Hindsight is always 20/20. It is in 20/20 when you're looking at the problem head on right away. But now that I've looked at it and paid attention to it and recognized what I've done for myself, I was probably between 178 and 180 pounds around the injury time, because I've been running a lot. I think I was day 165 of my running streak that stopped that day. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop. I'm going to start this running streak again eventually. But I'm working my way in gently. I'm being smart with this. But what has happened, I started to lift more weights. I started to do more strength and stability training versus a boatload of running, or as I would say in New York, a shit ton of running. What I did is, with the strength training and then the rehabilitation type stuff between the stretching and the therapies that I mentioned before, I've gone from 178 to 180 pounds, we'll say, to 198 pounds. And yes, I have to admit there's definitely a little bit of fat in there, but I've definitely put on a lot of muscle mass, which I'm happy for. My wife loves that I look better, with more meat on my bones, if you will, than less meat. I feel good in both weights, though I'll probably get skinnier again. I'm going to do my best to keep as much muscle mass on now while I'm training, because I think the thing that I didn't have was stability strength for my knee, which led to that problem. And which led to the ankle down the road or up the trail, however you want to look at it. So where in your life are you actually listening to these messages? Are you getting these innate thought flashes? And it doesn't have to be in bed, right? Like I mentioned, it could be any time during the day in life. Sometimes daydreaming, things like this and meditation can bring out these same innate thought flashes. Just as an example, my father was doing a meditation at work yesterday, and he came into meditation and goes, I have these ideas, and he wrote them down. which was really cool. So he had these thought flashes during a meditation. So it doesn't have to be in sleep. It doesn't have to be in a meditation. It could be daydreaming. It could be on a run. Oftentimes I get great thought flashes while on a run because the most important thing to listen to is yourself and that innate inside. And oftentimes that shows up, and sometimes I'll have to stop running and type it into my phone, type an idea into a phone or whatever, talk into my phone, whatever it may be. But where in your life are you having these innate thought flashes, and are you paying attention? I hope you are. And second, are you listening to the universe? Right? Remember, it is happening for you and not to you. So you can look at a bad situation and or a good situation when you step back and see that from the third person, right? Look at the movie playing out of you and your life, the situation, the event. Why is it happening for you? And if it's something you're not happy about, just sit in it for a few minutes, maybe a few days. And if you want to change it, you change it, right? It's your story. It's your life. So everybody, I want to thank you for being on this short episode of the Human Powered Life podcast. Make sure if you haven't signed up and gotten our 7 Habits download on the bottom of the website, definitely get that. It's free. All the habits you want to start today. And it's something that's super simple. You don't need equipment. You don't need things. You can do all of these things right away. So get the download. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode, and hit me up on social media if you have not yet, and share an episode with a friend if you also have not done that yet. And the last thing is going to be an ask. I'm going to ask you, if you have not yet given us a review on your favorite platform you're listening to the show or watching the show on, please do. Hit the like button, hit the comment button, type something awesome out. Share one of your innate thought flashes, share one of those things in the comments. So I want to thank you for that, and we'll see you on the next episode. All right, y'all. Bye-bye.